Hi everyone. I hope all of you are able to hear me. So great to have all of you, first of all. Thanks for joining. And today we have, of course, Shashank with me. And so the agenda is very simple. Whatever questions you guys have with respect to CAT 23, feel free to ask through the YouTube live chat. It can be anything. It can be related to your prep, your strategy, anything related to your profile, college selections, and so on and so forth. Right? So anything that you want to ask about CAT 23, feel free to do it today. And we'll be very happy if we are able to answer your questions.
That is the time the questions start coming in. Some general tips from our side. Yeah. All right. So CAT 23, I'm sure all of you realize is roughly 6 months away. So you have roughly 190-ish days to go for the test, 190, 195-ish days to go for the test. And even if you are starting from scratch right now, let's say someone started preparing from May onwards or is planning to start preparing from the end of May or from the beginning of June, even then it is possible for you to crack the CAT, right? And when I say crack the CAT, it means that you should be able to get at least an 85-ish plus percentile, which will help you get into a lot of the top B schools in this country. So depending on your profile, depending on your aspiration, at least an 85 plus is something that is possible. I'm sure a lot of you are aiming for a lot more. Even that can be done, but you need to put in dedicated effort, right? You need to give at least 3 to 4 hours of prep every day. You should not have any breaks in your preparation as we go ahead. You should start with concepts, get a lot of clarity in terms of concepts, then maybe move on to application of those concepts and then test taking strategy. If you keep on looking at one thing and then another and then something else, keep on asking 10 different people as to what should you prepare, then you're going to get confused anyway. And you will essentially be muddled in terms of what exactly to do, right? So we have seen people who will start with their CAT preparation, will study maybe 5 or 6 concepts, then suddenly they will be like, acha, SimCAT dena is mandatory. A lot of the toppers whose interviews I have seen had taken SimCATs, so mujhe bhi SimCAT dena chahiye. Then you will go and take SimCATs, then you will take the score seriously, and then you will feel bad about yourself, right? Then you get into that vicious cycle of not being clear with your concepts before you actually went for a test and then taking the result to your, right? So that should not happen. So make sure that you are going ahead in a phased manner. You know exactly what you're doing and what exactly is your level at a certain point in time and how can you go to the next level. If you are able to answer those questions well, then you should be fine. The second thing from my side is you should know very clearly as to why you want to go for an MBA, because I'm pretty sure that come the month of August or September, you will start doubting your ability as a test taker. You will feel that okay, I'm preparing very hard, but my scores are not improving. All my friends are doing better than what I'm doing. My siblings are doing well. If I would have taken up a job, then I would have done amazingly well in life. So all those thoughts will keep on creeping into your mind. You will feel that acha, do mahine mein CAT aa raha hai, in 2 months CAT is going to happen and I'm not well prepared. Maybe CAT 24 is meant for me. So all those things will come to your mind, right? So at that point in time, if you are very clear about why you want to do an MBA, that will provide you with the necessary motivation to muscle through that phase, which is, I believe, the most critical part of your preparatory journey. Yeah, Prasad, if you
want to ask. Yeah. So I think we'll start with questions now. So there's a question from Anmol Saxena. How to tackle DILR section? I find the ones in previous year CAT exams as well as SimCAT sets very difficult. I am barely able to solve even one. So Anmol, this is true for a lot of people. So don't worry at all, I would say. Especially at this point of time when you have, first of all, a lot of time ahead of you. But at the same time, it's also limited amount of time that is available with you, right? Understand that DILR by nature is something which is unlike, say, a quant or a verbal. There can be a lot of experimentation that is possible. But at the same time, it is also fairly exhaustive in nature if you solve a lot of sets, right? So let's say if you end up solving 500, 600 sets, the exposure that you get through that helps you to tackle something which might be something that you're not seen as well. there are a lot of these logic elements that you pick up, the structured thought process that you pick up, which you can use to solve other problems. So whether it is SimCATs or the past CAT papers or any other papers for that matter, or your practice exercises and all of that, they are essentially to increase your exposure, right? So I think you should take it in the right spirit rather than worrying too much about it that I'm not able to solve a lot of sets right now. That's completely fine. And all of us have gone through that process as well, right? So when we started our journey, it wasn't that we were able to solve everything that we were coming across. We also learned, took a bit of a time to get the hang of things and then got better at it, right? And when I said experimentation is possible, I don't know if you have seen it. There was a CAT in between when they had asked a chess puzzle, right? So we focus or we encourage students to solve a lot of logical puzzles, anything that engages your brain, simply because of this reason, right? That the more patterns you start recognizing, the better off you are, right? So start doing that. And the practice is the key, right? The more sets you solve, definitely you will start getting better at it. And rather than worrying about speed right now, I would say you should just worry about the content, right? So let me solve a lot of sets, right? So just putting in the hours, and then eventually you will get better, right? Anything you want to add on that, the DILR front?
Yeah, and Anmol, one thing is, see, every DILR set that you are going to solve will involve at least one bottleneck. A bottleneck basically means that the place where you are going to get stuck. So a lot of people get stuck. They will keep on thinking about something at that one point in time, and they will just hope for some divine intervention to happen and you coming up with the solution to that to surpass that particular bottleneck, right? Now you have to understand, the more sets you solve, the more logical puzzles you solve, as Prasad sir mentioned, the more bottlenecks you will come across. So there will be a point in time, let's say you are solving a Sudoku which is rated as 5-star, let's say, right? It's a very difficult Sudoku. There will come a point in time wherein it will be so difficult for you that you will have to maybe write down numbers, maybe think about it at a deeper level and all those kind of things. That is the bottleneck. The more used to your brain gets to overcoming these bottlenecks, the easier you will find yourself being in terms of like solving those kind of puzzles, right? So the bottlenecks is the keyword that I have whenever I talk about LRDI. And the more sets you solve, the more bottlenecks you come across, the better off you will be in terms of training your brain. So to think about it as something that a logical question that needs to be cracked, you should be happy when you crack something. If you are looking at it as a task, कि अच्छा रे ये करना पड़ेगा and मतलब ये नहीं करेंगे तो मेरा life बर्बाद हो जाएगा, those kind of things, if those thoughts come to your mind, 9 times out of 10 you are not going to be able to crack that particular set, right? So you should be happy to crack something and get your answer. That I think will make you the happiest and the most successful in terms of cracking LRDI sets.
There are quite a few questions related to revision. So there's a question from Paras on how to revise Quant. I can see a question from Suhani. How should we revise our syllabus? So again, see, everybody will have a different way in which they go about revising. Now, for example, somebody, let's say, who has already completed module 1, 2, 3, will have more time for revision, whereas somebody who is just about to start preparation will have lesser time for revision. So my simple recommendation would be, no matter when you are starting, is to do it in the best possible manner the first time itself. So while you are initially learning the topic, it's okay if you take more time than, let's say, what is even recommended, right? So if somebody says concepts of time, speed, distance, right? And I say, fine, for any average student, it could be, let's say, maybe 5 to 6 hours of effort. If you think, okay, fine, I need more time, put in that time and then make your own notes, because it is always useful for quick revision or any reference that you want to do, right? So if you're solving something, it's not possible to go back to your books and go through the entire theory again and again. So as a student, something that helped me was I had created a formula book for myself. It was a very simple thing. You just take a notebook and you divided it topic wise. And whenever you come across any new formula, because this is definitely going to happen as you progress in the SimCAT season, you will start encountering problems that are noteworthy. Maybe there's a concept that you have never seen earlier, or there's some trick that you're not aware of. You can write it down in your formula book, right? Or whatever you call it, say knowledge repository, for example. So you park everything there and just keep revising that, go through that document again and again. So I had this cycle kind of a thing. So every 2 to 3 days, I used to visit that book and go through all the formulae. right? And just by knowing the formula also, a lot of quant questions can be handled, by the way, in the exam. There will be a lot of these direct questions. So that is one way in which you can do it, that doing it right the first time itself, taking more time and making notes for yourself. Anything from your side?
Yeah, so same thing. I think the way in which you write down things, it's very important. You can use new age techniques like making a PPT. So whenever you come across a concept, if you find it very tiring to write that thing down, or you have like terrible handwriting like what I do, you can take an image of that, or you can take a screenshot and put it in a PPT and maintain that PPT. So a lot of times people come and ask us as to what should we study the day before the CAT, let's say, or the week before the CAT, or sometimes what should we study a day or two before the SimCAT. So this is basically the answer to your question. You go through this repository that you have made, and that will help you keep in touch with things that you have already done, right? And one more thing, so you need not sit and solve that entire thing again and again and again. That becomes tedious, right? Just appreciate the reason why that question or that concept has made its way to your PPT or your the WhatsApp group, that single person WhatsApp group, if you want to do something like that, or a Google Drive or a notebook, anything is fine. But you should just appreciate why a particular concept or a question has made its way to your repository, right? If you do that, you should be fine. But this is probably the best advice that even I can give. So yeah, that should be helpful. Yeah. For general category, what should be the minimum percentile target to get into the old IMs? So again, it's a very broad question. General category tells me only 25% of the story, I would say, right? A lot depends on the gender. A lot depends on your educational background. A lot depends on your profile. A lot depends on a lot of different things, right? Your work ex and all those things come into the picture. So again, if you have a great profile, then you should maximize your CAT score so that they don't really say that, Acha, you had a good profile, but you didn't perform well at the CAT. Now, this is basically a gap in your profile that I can see, right? So if you are already doing well, you are a 9-pointer throughout, let's say, for example, you do not want your CAT score to be in the mid-90s. Although it might actually get you a call from an older IM, you do not want to be in that situation when people start questioning, Acha, you are doing well in descriptive tests, but aptitude mein aake maar kha jate ho. That is not the thing that you want to convey to people. If you are someone who has an average profile, let's say you are a 788 or a 888 kind of a pointer. Unfortunately, that is what counts as an average profile when it comes to the CAT. But if you are an 8-pointer throughout, let's say, for example, an 887 kind of a profile you have, right? In that case, it's all the more important for you to take it a bit higher. So whatever happens, you have to start running as the story goes. If you are a part of a jungle, if you are a deer, you have to get up in the morning and run so that you can survive a lion. And if you are a lion in that jungle, you still have to run because you have to find food. So irrespective of wherever you are in terms of your profile, it's best for you to reach as high as possible in terms of your CAT score. If you are looking for a number, if you have listened to this entire tirade and you are still looking for a number, then I would say that to be on the safer side, 99 plus is decent enough. Although we have seen people not getting IIM ABC LIK calls at 99.7 percentile as well last year, right? That is the highest number that I have heard, wherein people have not got even a single call from an old IIM. So obviously, if you are looking for the minimum possible maximum value, that is 99.7. But if you are looking at a realistic number, at least psychologically try to get above that 90. That is what I would like to say.
We'll take a question from Saroj. How to improve vocab? So see, specifically from CAT perspective, CAT is not going to test your vocab, right? So there won't be any direct questions on what is the meaning of the word. But again, vocab is important because it makes you a better reader. You will not be struggling while you are going through those RCs that are going to appear on the test. So the best way to improve vocab is, of course, a lot of reading, right? So organic development of vocabulary is the best way to go about it. But we understand that all of you are students, you're aspirants for a test, and you are building your vocab through that angle, right? So that is the objective that you have in mind. So I would suggest the first thing that can be done is, of course, the word list that we have given to you, right? So all the students have word list, which is a part of your courseware. So when you go through those words, right, the more you practice that, you will remember most of the words that you do. And also try to make sentences using those words. If you try to use it, I would not say in your day-to-day conversation, because sometimes people start thinking that you are acting a little snobbish if you know a lot of words and trying to use a lot of esoteric words that nobody knows about, like Shashi Tharoor, for example. So we don't want you to do that. But then just try to make a sentence with whatever word that you come across. right? So if you come across a particular word, just try to make a story in your mind, right? It could be some sentence, and that will help you to remember that word a little better. And that's the only way to go about it. Plus, of course, the word list that is there. So initially, it requires a little bit of mugging. I know, and even as a student, I did that, right? So all of us go through that journey, kind of a thing. But then reading a lot parallelly will help not only to improve your vocab, but also will make you a better reader. Your comprehension will go up, your focus will go up, your ability to grasp the topic very, very quickly will also go up, right? So reading plus doing your word list, that's the way to go about it. Okay.
Yeah. So someone asked, Raj is asking, first one syllabus complete, second, third, fourth section wise practice, fifth and sixth revision, full marks and analysis. Is this the right way? Sounds to be a decent plan, although I might want to give a more time to syllabus completion, assuming that you are starting more or less from scratch. If you have already taken the CAT, if you already have a decent hold on concept, then 1 to 2 months is decent enough. But if you are starting from scratch, I would strongly suggest that you go for at least 2.5-ish months of focus on concepts, because that is one thing that on which your entire pyramid will be based. So if the base is not really good, then it will not take a lot of time to crumble. Give slightly more time to concepts. I would go as far as saying that 15th August could be your deadline to finish your concept. So if someone is looking for an iconic date, then 15th August is basically your answer. Till then, you can look at concepts, not a problem. Beyond that, it will become slightly tighter. You can still do that, but it will become more difficult as you progress. So that is basically when you can wrap up the concepts.
We'll take a question from Chandan. Please give some tips to solve DILR sets. The ones I'm practicing are totally different, and what they're giving in the test, I'm assuming you're talking about SimCAT, is totally different. And where can I find these kind of sets? So from your first question is about tips to solve DILR sets. My recommendation is simple, that if you, let's say, have class exercise or practice exercise, and you're solving a set, right? Okay. Let's say 2-3 minutes, you're not able to do anything. You spend 5 to 7 minutes, no progress whatsoever. Now at this stage, what I'll do is, rather than just sitting on it for maybe another 10-15 minutes, I will go to the solution and just take a hint, right? Just take a very small hint from the initial explanation that, okay, this is how you're supposed to make the table, and then start working on that. So take a hint, then work on the problem. Okay. Now, if you're able to solve the set entirely, great, nothing like it. If you're not able to solve it, you can go through the solution. But because I've seen this in the past, I've taken sessions where people have come back and said, I take maybe 30 or 40 minutes to solve one set, right? That's not productive use of your time. So you will still have to crack the set, somehow take the help of the hint that is there and whatever, finish it off at the earliest, right? The second question that you have is, where do I get more such questions? Firstly, the past CAT papers is the best source that is out there. You can look at the proctored SimCATs, the take-home SimCATs, wherein you'll have a lot of sets. Plus, for the SimCATs that you have, you can also, we have one of the USPs of IMS, which is the AI-powered adaptive questions, right? So once you have a set, you can actually create a similar set with the help of AI and use that as a practice set. So you can do that. So it's not very difficult to find a lot of these questions. But yeah, as initially also we had answered, that every DILR set teaches you something, right? If it teaches you what to do, it also teaches you what not to do, and what sets to solve, what sets to avoid in the test, right? So take everything as a learning experience.
Yeah. Next one, is it possible to get 99 plus if you prepare now? Why sir said you can get 85? 85 was a generic term, right? So 85 is for everyone, irrespective of your education background, your comfort with aptitude tests, whether you have been a part of a competitive test taking situation or not. Sabke liye 85 is basically the standard which I'm applying. Now, obviously, if you have had some background in terms of solving math questions, solving logical reasoning questions, you enjoy reading and all those things, if you have your basics in place, then 99 is also definitely possible. If you tell me that I hate aptitude tests, I don't have any clue about math, I don't like solving puzzles either, and reading to matlab I haven't even read a pamphlet in my life, then it will be difficult to look at a 99, right? So, wo situation pe depend karta hai. But if you are like decently pumped up about solving aptitude based questions, you like cracking puzzles, you like coming to come with an answer without taking a hint as much as possible, if these things give you a kick, then why not? 99 is definitely possible, right? But then again, you have to follow the processes and you have to enjoy your journey. If you are ready, if you can promise me that over the next 6 odd months, you are going to enjoy the journey and you are not going to get affected by even a minorish failure, then I think you should be on track to get a 99. I don't see any reason why you should not get a 99. Right? So that was definitely not my intent.
There's a question from Chaitanya regarding profile. I will have 3 years work ex by next year. Will that be a problem during MBA? So not at all. It won't be a problem. I'm considering whether to reappear or go for tier 2 colleges this year. Okay. So see, first of all, if you have got some converts this year, that's always a good sign. You have done at least something properly. Now, whether to join this year or to wait for another year is a very individual call. It depends a lot on your life situation, and WorkX is not, I mean, it is one of the parameters, but it is not the only parameter. So there are a lot of questions that you need to ask yourself when you're thinking of a retake. Do I have the energy to do it? Do I enjoy doing it? Will it be a significant jump if I wait? Right? See, because any additional WorkX will always give you some extra points wherever it matters. Say going from 24 months of experience to 36 months of experience is always a good thing. So you can do that. I don't see any problem, but then you need to introspect and figure out whether you really need to go for a retake or not. And if you join this year, what kind of outcomes you're going to get, because you're not mentioned the colleges that you're converted this year. But yeah, have a look at it, talk to your mentors, maybe get a session, one-on-one session with them. And then you can discuss your profile, your aspirations, and basis that you can take that decision, whether you want to take it again or not.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. Nayan and Vatsal have asked more or less the same question. Online courses and profile building, right? So one thing you have to understand is, see, if you are planning to take a course, you have to look at your priorities in life. If you are a final year student, your topmost priority should be doing well at your graduation exams, right? Purely because that is going to happen only once in your life. And if you mess those up, then you are going to be stuck with that score for the rest of your life, right? So my first priority is doing well in my college exams. वो हो जाएगा. Now I have bandwidth left. I will prepare wholeheartedly for the CAT. If I give a lot of time for profile building while sacrificing these two things, I might have a good profile, or I might be able to talk about things in an interview in a better manner, but I will not even reach the interview room in the first, right? So my first priority is getting into the interview room. उसके बाद you can justify whatever you want. अब ये दोनों करने के बाद, if you have, let's say, some bandwidth left, then what you can do is you have to look at what all things interest you. Just because some of your friends are doing CFA, or some of your friends are doing financial modeling or digital marketing or operations or whatever courses, doesn't mean that you are also expected to do those courses, right? A lot of these courses, and of course, you mentioned, Nayan mentioned IMS Pro School as well. So a lot of these courses that IMS Pro School or any other player will have will involve significant investment in terms of time, in terms of effort, in terms of money that is there, right? So there's a lot of investment that goes into the entire course that you have, right? If you just randomly do courses, then they may or may not be helpful to you in the long run. So that is something that you have to be certain of before you go for the course. Just because people are doing derivatives pe kuch course doesn't mean that you go and do it. If you are interested in finance, if you want to get into a trading role at some point in time, utna clarity hai tabhi jaake course karna is what I would suggest. Otherwise, what will happen is you will take a nice digital marketing certificate to your interview room, and if the person starts asking you CPV, CPL, and all those kind of things, then you are in big trouble, right? So again, share of voice, all those kind of things. So a lot of technicalities go into digital marketing. If you are not clear and do not know the practical applications of these things, if you are not genuinely interested, I'm sure you will not be able to answer the question, and it will basically again deteriorate. It will not really impact your candidature in a positive manner. So don't take random risks. You can do courses only if you are certain of it. Typically 3 or 4, maximum of 4 spikes on your CV is good enough. If you have good ACATs, that counts as a spike. If you have worked on some amazing project in your workplace, counts as a spike. If you have won some competition, counts as a spike. But these 3 or 4 things that are there are the ones that you should be comfortable about talking during an interview. Utna agar hai, to it's fine. No need to burden yourself with a lot of other things. Bandwidth hai to hi karna, otherwise don't go.
There's a question from Manjesh. Will lack of work experience affect Blackie admission criteria? So See, firstly, most of the IIMs do not give you any marks if you have less than a certain number of months of experience, right? For example, IMA does not give you anything if you have less than 12 months of work ex. IMK does not give you anything if you have less than 6 months of work experience. Now, whether if you don't have work ex, for example, right, how does it affect is that when you go for the interview, right, and if you say, for example, you are an engineer and you want to do MBA in finance, now the panel might ask you, why do you want to do it, right? Now, there should be some justification to it. If you don't have work ex, maybe a course could be a justification. Maybe an internship that you have done during your college could be a justification. So having work ex definitely helps you to make a slightly better case as to why you want to do an MBA, because you have experienced the corporate sector a little bit, right? Otherwise, purely from the marking perspective, I don't think it will make a lot of difference. As I said, IMK, IMA, they will have that minimum work experience that you need to have for you to even get some points. Now, if you look at all the top IIMs, go to the placement report and try to find percentage of freshers. So there will be a lot of freshers who every year make it to these IIMs. They don't have any work experience. Now, how are they able to make it, right? So if you're able to convince the panel as to why you need an MBA at this point of time, if you show that clarity of thoughts, not having work ex is still fine. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. I don't think you should bother yourself too much with that thought negatively. Whatever you can do with the variables that you have, try to do it, right? So the best thing is, of course, your CAT score. So at IMA, for example, 65% is on the CAT score. So try to maximize your CAT score, right? And then worry about the other things that are there.
Yeah. Shraddha asked, only 6 months left and feeling stuck. So what exactly to do? So again, there are two ways of looking at it. There are only 6 months left and there are 6 months left, right? So the same thing, it depends on whether you are a glass half full or glass half empty person. But the thing is, see, if you have been preparing since some time, which I'm assuming you are, and you are still feeling stuck and there are 6 months to go, you have to wait for that point. You have to keep on putting in effort and wait for that point wherein suddenly things will change for you. And it happens. So just to give you a small concept that is there. So there is this thing called as value of disappointment. I'm not sure if you've heard of this. But let's say, for example, you start on your journey to achieve anything in life. Let's say you start on your journey to lose weight, for example, right? That is your objective. And you have planned to lose, let's say, 10 kgs over 5 months, that kind of a thing, right? You have planned that kind of. Now you are expecting that every month I will lose 2 kgs on an average, because obviously mathematically it says, right? First month ke baad 2 kg come, second month 4, third 6, fourth 8, fifth 10th. That is a linear scale that we have drawn, and we are expecting these things to happen. But in reality, it will not happen like that. In your first month, you might lose 500 grams. Second month, you would have lost maybe 750 grams. Third month, you would have lost 1 kg, let's say, for example, right? But after that, once you get on that upswing, that is basically when magic happens. So you have to stay persistent and you have to wait till that point in time wherein, again, taking tests becomes second nature to you, or you start coming up with solutions on your own, right? So it's just a matter of time before you start doing well at your preparation. The point is for you to persist. Now, if you say that, Acha, okay, I have been practicing for 1 month, but I am not able to crack questions on my own, I'll take a break of 15 days and again restart my preparation, it's never going to happen, right? You have to keep on putting in effort. I'm sure at some point in time, you are going to do amazingly well in life. That is one thing. The second thing is, if you are feeling a lot of pressure on yourself, just reevaluate your goals that you would have made for yourself, right? So looking at your profile, looking at your performance at, let's say, SimCAT 1 or pre-SimCATs that have already happened, or your performance in the classes, or your general way of solving questions, right? You have to look at that particular aspect and then decide which are the institutes that I'm targeting. If you are facing difficulty in almost everything, you have a 777 kind of a profile, and you're targeting only I am ABC and putting random pressure on yourself, it's not going to help you, right? So you have to understand and set realistic goals, and again, try to do better than that instead of putting random pressure on us, right? So one thing, if you are preparing well, if you are preparing for 3-4 hours every day, solving questions religiously, attending classes properly, taking SimCATs well, then stick to it. I'm sure over the next couple of months, there should be a point in time wherein you will become much better than where you are, right? And that is going to happen if you persist, right? The second thing is reevaluate your goals and make sure that your goals are realistic and achievable. So there is this thing called SMART goals that we have in terms of anything in life, but project management and all specifically. So they should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, right? So set smart goals for yourself, and you will see yourself progressing at a point in time. So don't worry about it.
I'll take a question from Shankar. How to overcome the fear of SimCat? Firstly, there is no reason for you to be scared of it, right? It reminds me of this dialogue or thing from Doctor Strange, the first movie that is there. And the ancient one says that we cannot lose our demons, we can only learn to live above them. Right? So just by taking more SimCats, right? So don't make it larger than your life, first of all. No test is larger than your life. So what you need to do is face it, right? So just take it. It doesn't matter what you score. So initially it's going to be very bad. I mean, you might get a single digit score. So what, right? Now I got a single digit score. Now let me see, why did I get a single digit score? Have I studied these topics? Yes, no. Try to answer those things. So keep on asking yourself these why questions, WH questions, and go to the root cause of it to figure out, okay, where is the issue? Is the issue speed? Is the issue content? Is the issue strategy? Is the issue just pressure? Because there are a lot of people who have the content, but because of the pressure, because the clock is ticking, they're not able to perform at the best level. So whatever is the issue, right, there is a solution for that. If content is the issue, put in more hours. If speed is the issue, then try to figure out, okay, what are the tricks that I need to do, or reduce your rough work. Right? If let's say the issue is pressure, right? Just exposing yourself to more content, right, or more practice test, it will help you to relax your nerves a little bit, right? Otherwise, I mean, see, everybody will have development areas. All of us, when we started taking tests, there were days when we also felt very bad as to what is going on, right? I have maybe put in so much effort, things are not working for me, right? How do I come out of it? And that is, I think Shashank initially mentioned, right, as to you should be clear as to why you want to do an MBA in the first place. So if you know your why, you will never feel demotivated, and you will never keep searching for motivation outside. The motivation is a very internal thing, right? If all of us start watching some random motivational videos, 5 minutes, everybody is like, wow, I'm super motivated, super pumped right now. But after the next SimCat, it is going to go for a toss, right? Because you're not clear and you're depending on external motivation to drive your effort. That's not going to happen. So be clear on your why, and then identifying where is the issue, right? So once you get that clarity, you will get better. For example, maybe I don't know where you are in terms of your study journey, but let's say you're done only module 1 and you appear for the SimCat. Now you get a low score and you are crying about it and saying that, oh, I got a low score, I don't think I'll improve and all of that. And it is creating more negative thoughts that I'm scared of SimCat. But then right now your content only is like 25% of what is asked on the test. So rather than evaluating yourself or judging your performance on the basis of all 4 modules, let me judge myself on the basis of one module that I've studied. That from this module, let's say there were 10 questions that appeared on the test today. Was I able to answer those 10 questions? Did I do justice to those 10 questions? And keep doing that, right? So don't judge yourself on the entire syllabus, judge yourself on the limited syllabus that you have covered, and just keep working on it, right? So the crests and troughs are going to be there. So don't worry too much about it, I would say.
Yeah. Shubham is saying that I was already preparing for CAT 23 from April, but so far preparation is not going well in spite of being a repeater. And can I get 99 plus percentile? Definitely yes. So we discussed it already. It's definitely possible if you are persistent. Again, the idea is to not take a break and stay put. If you are a repeater, I'm sure you would have a score to start with. You would have seen how easy CAT would have actually been. So a lot of people who take CAT once and might not have done well at the test, I will appreciate the fact that they could have easily solved 2 or 3 more questions than what they did at the actual test, right? And that should give you some confidence as to improve, as to how to improve in terms of your score and percentile. Because wherever you are, right, even if you're a 99th percentile at the CAT, definitely there will be at least 2 or 3 questions in each section which you would firmly believe that you would have done in a better manner. And that is true across score ranges, right? So definitely it's possible. I would never discount anything till the time the results come out. So definitely it's possible for a 99 plus. Just make sure that you are more or less being on track in terms of your preparatory journey. Yeah.
Rushikesh, strategy for VRC. So I'm sure whatever sessions you're attending, whether it is classroom sessions or live online sessions, those mentors are of course guiding you on that front. But overall, I would say the best thing that anybody can do as a CAT aspirant for VRC is reading. A lot of people don't do it, and say by August, September, October, they realize that their verbal has not improved purely because they have not put in the hours, right? So just sitting and reading for at least I would say 30-40 minutes a day is like a bare minimum for a CAT aspirant. So you have to do a focused reading. Pick, let's say, any international newspapers or websites, or there are a lot of sources. You can do anything, right? Or it could be solving RCs as well. But then 30-40 minutes minimum per day you should be reading, because that's what you are supposed to do on the CAT day as well. So reading is the first and foremost. The question specific strategies, I think you'll have enough guidance through your mentors and all of that.
Yeah. All right. So any book recommendation to solve the hard sets of DILR and VARC, since question asked in SIMCATs are very difficult in nature? I don't understand. Questions asked in SIMCAT are difficult and you want to practice hard questions. So SIMCAT is basically your answer. But if you look at it, so Prasad sir mentioned that you have class exercises, practice exercises, let's say sectional tests, e-maximizer workshops, master classes, SIMCATs, both proctored and take home, right? So all those things are there. Now, the funny thing about this is a lot of you will say that the class exercise that we have, that is very easy, but SIMCATs are very difficult. Now, there's a fun fact. The class exercises that you are seeing right now are nothing but SIMCATs from CAT 17 that we had, right? They are SIMCAT sets from CAT 16, CAT 17 that we had. And I don't know how many of you have taken CAT at that point in time or had a look at the CATs that happened back then, but they were actually more difficult compared to what we have right now. Right. So in reality, the class exercise, practice exercise booklets are as difficult as your SIMCAT sets, or are even more difficult. Just because you're sitting in a classroom and solving it with students, or a mentor is guiding you on how to solve those sets, or purely because they've just been labeled class exercise, are you thinking that they are on the easier side, right? But they're not easy sets, honestly. So that is basically one avenue from where you can solve challenging sets. And second thing is, obviously you have to get rid of the mental block. Even the sectional tests that you are going to take at a later point in time are actual SIMCAT sections from past years. We don't really repeat SIMCATs year after year, right? So the older SIMCATs that we have had, they retire, and those questions are somehow integrated into our courseware. The best of those questions are integrated into our courseware, and that is basically what you will see throughout the courseware. So if you just do the courseware properly, you should be fine. If you want to develop your lateral thinking or go for like amazingly difficult puzzles, then there is this book called A Book of Puzzles and Teasers by George Summers, right? So that is one that is like sort of difficult. So you can go for that. Shakuntala Devi has written some books on lateral thinking and some puzzle-based questions. So maybe you can try that as well. Past CAT papers, as Prasad sir mentioned, are very important from the point of view of cracking the CAT. Standalone, I would suggest that you try to solve as many puzzle types as you can, right? I generally ask this question to larger groups, and these people are able to come up with 7 or 8 puzzle names, right? But if you can solve, let's say, 15 or 20 puzzle types, that automatically puts you in the top 1% of the test taking population, because not a lot of people will put in the effort to learn a lot of puzzle types. And when I say puzzle types, I mean puzzles like Sudoku, Hitori, Hidato, Kakuro, Kakurasu, Minesweeper, let's say something like a Wordle, Towers of Hanoi, let's say, for example, even a solitaire might count as something. Battleship, let's say, for example, Nonogrids, Slitherlink. There are a lot of puzzle types. Chess, right? There are a lot of puzzle types that exist. The more puzzle types you are aware of and the more puzzles you can solve, the more confidence you will get, right? And there are these elements that will be present in puzzles. So let's say, for example, there are 7 things that are to be distributed among 3 groups, and none of them should get the same number of items, and all of them should have at least 1 item. There is only one way to split this, 4-1. Now, the amount of time that I took in telling you this statement, someone with a knowledge of Kakuro would have just looked at this and would have said 4-1. 8 ko divide karna hai, 4, 3, 1, 5 to 1. There are only 2 ways, right? 29 ko 4 mein divide karna hai, 9, 8, 7, 5. There are only 4 ways, only one way to do this, right? So all these things will come naturally to you the more problems you solve. And yes, sub are the building blocks of your solution. So make sure that you're doing all these things for DILR. VARC के अंदर difficult questions, I think SIMCAT is the gold standard. अगर SIMCAT के अंदर VARC you are able to solve, then you should be sorted. And I'm not saying it's just because I'm a part of IMS. In fact, last couple of years, we have been doing this live solving exercises wherein we invite other mentors as well. So Sunit Sunit, who eventually became a CAT 100 percentile last year, did a live solving session last year with us. And I'm sure you would have gone through it, and VARC was actually difficult in that particular SimCAT. Even Rajesh sir did a live solving with us, and even he found VARC to be difficult, right? When I solved it, even I found it to be difficult. So all of us, when we take SimCATs, the VARC is on the difficult side. It's not unjustified. If you look at the solutions, you will agree with at least 90% of the solutions. Okay. But utne solutions, 21, 22 questions out of 24, if you're agreeing to with the solution and are not able to come up with it on your own, it means that it is on the difficult side. So that is basically the gold standard, I would say. Stick to your SimCATs, take all 40 of them. I'll be very proud if you do that. I think hardly a handful of people end up taking 40 SimCATs from our enrolled students. So if you do that, you are definitely going to be among the top 0.1% of the test taking population. And Utna, if you do, then that is amazing, right?
I saw a few questions there's a question from Ayush, a question from Reality, which is more on topic selection, right? So the question is, will covering just arithmetic and geometry for quants enough to score good in quants? Now, see, there are 5 major areas. You have numbers, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, P&C probability. Right? So now you have to figure out that out of these 5 areas, I should be reasonably good at least 3, I would say. And again, the important thing is at least 3. In some cases, 3 might be sufficient. For example, if you do numbers, arithmetic, algebra, 3 areas you have done extremely well, you should be sorted ideally. But then it also depends on your aspiration. If your aspiration is to get, let's say, a 99 or a 99.5 plus on the quant, you cannot really take a chance. So then you will have to do, okay, numbers, arithmetic, algebra, geometry as well. So right now, I would say you should not drop a particular topic, or you should not go with the thought process that I want to drop something. I want to be selective and do only specific topics. I'll tell you the reason for that. There was one particular CAT, I forgot which year it was, where in my slot, there were some 4 or 5 questions from logarithms. Now, if let's say you are a student who is taking that slot and you, while preparing, decided to drop logarithms, you would have been at a pretty high disadvantage, right? That you are not attempting, it used to be a 34 question paper back then in Quant. So out of 34, there are 4 or 5 questions that you cannot answer. Now that is a problem. So that is why when you have so much time with you, you should not be thinking about what are the topics that I should drop or what are the must-do topics. Do basics of everything. Do intermediate of everything. But then you can say, fine, for advanced questions, I'm going to be okay. I'll do maybe 3 out of 5 areas, which is still fine. It will help you to survive. So, but don't leave a topic completely at this point of time. Question from Soumya, how to use AI adaptive questions in the most efficient way. So AI, of course, is something that we introduced last year. So when you solve your SimCATs for Quant and LRDI, at the bottom of when you do the analysis, at the bottom, you will see an option called practice similar questions. So once you click on that, the AI will create a set or a question which is similar to that question. And then basis on your performance, it will generate more questions for you. So the best way to do that is firstly, for the questions that you are skipping, and for questions that you're getting wrong, you should definitely do it. If you want practice for questions that you got correct, it's an optional thing, I would say. But for the ones that you're getting wrong or skipped ones, you should definitely solve more questions with the help of AI.
Yeah. Geetika, how can I increase my accuracy and attempt in SimCAT? Again, there are a lot of ways in which you can look at this particular thing. So you have to understand why you're not happy with your speed and accuracy in the first place, right? Is your speed not good because you are not solving questions in an efficient manner? Then of course you have to look at your concepts, have to look at your application to understand whether you have understood the concept in its entirety or not. Or are you trying 4 different things and the 4th thing is basically something that works? Then you're unnecessarily spending time doing the 3 other things, right? So that is one thing you have to understand at a concept level. That is an issue. If you are simply not being able to solve questions because they are in a chronological order and last ke 5 questions you're not able to see, then the idea behind it is like fairly straightforward. Force yourself to make decisions quicker, right? How do you do that? Again, one thing that I can think, say top of my mind, look at 3 questions at once. Instead of looking at 1 question at once, look at question 1, 2, 3, have a race among these 3 questions. Let's say, for example, question 3 wins. Then what you will do is you will solve question 3. ignore question 1 and 2. You know what the questions look like, but you're not solving them actively. Then question 3 solve कर लिया, go to questions 4, 5, 6. अब तीनों को एक साथ देखना. Let's say question 5 is the one that you are finding the most easy. Try solving question 5 for a couple of minutes. वो कर लिया. Now go to question 7, 8, 9. ऐसे करके what will happen is you are forcing yourself to make a decision among 3 questions. If you think that none of these 3 questions deserves your time, then it's fair enough. Go to the next bunch of 3 questions. There is no rule that you have to solve at least one question. There is no rule as such. One question if you can solve, great. If you can't solve anything, go ahead. But solve only one question. Don't get carried away and say that अच्छा एक किया, वो second वाला भी थोड़ा easy लग रहा है, third वाला भी easy लग रहा है. Let me try all 3. Then your plan will collapse. Right? So don't do that. Force yourself to do these things. 22nd question तक I'm sure you will reach by the end of 20-25 minutes using this strategy. 20-25 minutes हो जाता है. What you are doing right now is you basically have solved at least 5 or 6 questions out of the 7 or 8 brackets that you would have gone through. तो 5-6 क्वेश्चन मेरे सॉल्व हो गए हैं. I'm already at a 15, 16, 18 kind of a score, which believe me would be at least an 80 to 85 percentile at the CAT any year. ठीक है, उतने स्कोर पे already there. You also have an idea of what other questions look easier to you. तो वहां से over the next 15 odd minutes, if you are able to solve even 2 or 3 questions and you are able to reach a score of 24 or 27, I think it's going to be a very good score, considering that you are not doing very well at the quant section otherwise, right? So that is basically the way to go about it. In terms of speed and accuracy, I would strongly suggest that you don't spend time revising a particular question during the test. एक बार you get the answer, if it is there in the options, mark it and move ahead. While analyzing, you can think about, acha, I should have looked at this thing. There was one thing that I had missed, and then maybe next time you have to be a bit careful when you are dealing with that particular scenario. But otherwise, don't sit and check and recheck your working. Don't write stepwise solutions to each and every question. वो सब basic hygiene factors if you take care of, then your speed should automatically increase. I would suggest that you focus more on speed than on accuracy at this point in time, purely because once you know that you are able to solve 10 questions properly, as in using the correct way to solve those questions, then at some point in time you will start solving them correctly as well, right? But being able to solve 10 questions in a timed environment is something that will give you a lot of confidence. So instead of solving just 2 or 3 questions and saying that my accuracy 100%, that's not going to help you at all. Okay? So make sure that you are doing that. And again, it's very critical how you progress through the test. Don't sit idle for more than 30 or 40 seconds. If you're not writing down any new thing and 30 seconds have passed, then please don't waste time on that particular question. I'm sure your brain will help you come up with a better solution if you come back to that question, which generally hota hai. So if you take this in CAT and then when you're analyzing the test, you will suddenly feel that this question too easy tha. You could have solved it in a particular manner. You could have done that, right? So your brain is constantly working behind the scenes, even when you're solving some other question. So trust your brain to do its work. Go away from a question if you're not making any breakthrough for 30 odd seconds. When you come back to it, I'm sure that you will be able to think of a solution. If you're still not able to think of a solution, the question doesn't deserve your attention. So be very clear as to how much time do you want to spend on a question. And I think these things should generally be helpful.
Okay. We'll do a bit of a rapid fire. So there are questions where we can maybe give very short answers. So we'll just handle some of them. How much WorkX is a sweet spot? I would say anything between 1 to 2 years. Maybe up to even 3 years is fine, but then 2 years is generally good enough for most of the colleges, which will give you some marks, not too much, not too less also. So 2 years. 3 years is where it will be maximum at most of the places. So none of the places will give you anything extra if you have more than 3. At most of the places, you will hit the maximum that they have to offer. At few places, if you are more than 3, you will get slight penalty. That's it. But otherwise, 2 years is a very sweet spot. Okay. Then there's a question. We have just started with module 3. Is that fine? It's absolutely fine. Nothing to worry about. Is it helpful if you do internship under CA? Yes, as long as the CA is going to give you a certificate for that. But please note that it will not be counted as work experience. So any internship, right, is not counted as full-time work experience. So it will be an internship or an articleship, but it will not be considered as work experience. How important are graduation marks for CAT? Not too much, but I mean, most of the IIMs don't give anything right now. It's 0% at A, B, C, I, and K. At L, you have 10%, right? So I think rest of them don't give anything for graduation. But as Shashank mentioned, that graduation score is what you get once in your life. So please don't take chances with that and make sure that you get the best that you can have. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a look at some questions. Okay, I find it difficult to squeeze out time for my preparation since I work full time. I'm considering quitting. Is it advisable? No. Even without knowing where you're working, how difficult it is, or what exactly is it that you're gaining from your work experience, the blanket answer is no, Kritika. Purely because there is going to be this question which will be asked to you at your interviews in most cases. Why should we select you over someone else who has prepared and worked simultaneously? And there is no good answer to that question. It's a sort of a rhetorical question in a way, right? So the thing is, Kritika, you have to understand how much preparation do you need to crack the test. And if you come up with an answer, say you will be very comfortable if you are preparing for 2.5 or 3 hours every day. Now, it's almost certain that you are not going to get 3 hours of continuous time to prepare for the test. Now you have to understand how do you cobble together these 3 hours, right? So you have to look for small brackets of 15 minutes each. Utna bucket agar if you are able to manage, now you should be fine. So let's say, for example, if you wake up at 7 o'clock every morning, try to get up at 6:30 every morning. So वहाँ पे 30 minutes का bracket you have opened up for yourself. So out of 3 hours, 30 minutes वहाँ पे चला गया. When you are commuting, try to see if you can somehow make your commute easier. Don't skimp on money at this point in time is what I would suggest. If you can take a cab and go to office and that allows you to sit and solve something, do that instead of traveling in public transport. Or if you're traveling in public transport, at least try to get into a bus or a train wherein you are going to be able to sit, right? So if you know that 8 o'clock ke baad peak hour start, try to start 7:30, right? All these things will add up. Ye sab chote bits will add up to your day. Official lunchtime hota hai at a lot of places, right? Honestly, even I was not aware of at my workplace, but official, unofficial, there is a bracket wherein people generally step out for lunch. So if 1 to 1:30 is your lunch ka jo bhi hai bucket, then make sure that you're finishing your lunch in 15 minutes, which is possible. Next 15 minutes, may sit and do your stuff, right? So all these things you can do while commuting back. Again, the same idea that is there. Even if you're spending a good 5-10K on travel every month, it's perfectly okay. So वहां से time मिलेगा. If you are using your leaves properly, utilize them to the fullest extent. जितना भी use कर सकते हो कर लो. वो leaves बचा के you are not going to avail them at a later point in time, right? Every month if you are getting 2 or 2.5 leaves, make sure that you are using it. Make sure that Saturdays and Sundays you have kept for yourself, right? So yes, sub will contribute towards you getting more time to prepare for the test. Next, if you are looking at 3 hour window every day between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., that is not going to happen. And if you quit your job and start preparing for CAT full time, I'm not sure how helpful that is going to be, because there is this thing called Parkinson's law that exists, right? So work expands to fill the amount of time that you have on it. So if you have 8 hours to do something, you will figure a way out to do it over 8 hours. If you have 2 hours to do the same thing, you'll definitely do it in 2 hours, right? Commonly, it's known as engineering mindset. Ki exam ke 2 din pehle, people just wake up and finish the entire syllabus, right? So those kind of things happen. Leaving the job should be your last resort. If it's, I can understand if it's an unbearable job, if it's too far away, your boss is not really being good to you, you are not really learning anything from your job, right? So all those things are there. Wo agar situation hai, to definitely you should think about quitting. But also try to do something else in addition to your CAT prep. It could be a course, certification, internship, something that you can talk about. So wo ek dekh lena. Don't just let go of your job directly. I'll graduate in 2013, gap of 6 months. Will it hinder in any way? You will graduate in 2023, so you will have a gap of 6 months. So find something to do in those 6 months. 6 months nahi hoga, technically it will be 1 year. If you are not doing anything till the time you join a B school, but make sure that you're doing something in between. Could be a course is fine, anything is fine, other than sitting on your couch, right? So don't do that. Do something else and you should be fine. Okay, my mock scores are very fluctuating. Sanya, again, you have to get to the bottom of it, right? Mark an answer only when you're convinced about that answer. If you randomly mark answers, then it will be difficult for you to justify, because some days you might do well, some days you will not do well. Mock scores fluctuating ka one technical reason is that we don't really repeat questions or concepts across mock tests. So aisa nahi hai that you have learned something from mock 1 and suddenly mock 2 ke andar you will be able to apply everything that you have learned. That is not going to happen, because people who set SIMCATs are very wise people. and they want you to experience as many question types as you can over those 40 mocks that we have, right? So we will not repeat any question types. So you will never be able to figure out whether you have improved or not organically. Mock to mock में वो graph ऐसे नहीं आएगा typically. It will fluctuate, right? But at the end of it, if you look at the finished product, you would have covered most bases if you go through those mocks. So the whole idea is that you don't get disheartened. Try to figure out a reason why your scores fluctuated. वो reason is very important. Whether it will translate into marks in your next SimCAT might not be relevant, but वो reason बहुत important है कि क्यों fluctuate हो गया. So VARC, let's say for example, if you can tell me that अच्छा there was a passage on something like solipsism which I am not even aware of, तो सीधा मेरे 12 marks उधर उड़ गए, I'll happily accept that particular excuse for example, right? Quant के अंदर as Prasad sir said, अगर logarithm के 5 question आ गए and you have no idea what logs are, I'll begrudgingly accept what you're saying. I would want you to get better at logarithms, but I will accept. चलो ठीक है, logarithm से questions है, that's why your marks are not well, right? But I need a good reason why you didn't fare as well as you would have liked.
I'll answer questions on gap year. A lot of questions are there. So firstly, let's understand what is a gap, right? So if you're saying that I am graduating in 23, planning to take CAT 23, right? And I'm not planning to work. So as Shashank was saying that figure out something to do with your time. It could be courses, certifications, internships. It could be pursuing your activity, your hobbies, or any interest that you have. But doing something, because when you go for your interviews, the panel members know that you will not be studying for 12 hours a day. 8 hours you will sleep, 8 hours, let's say you prepare for CAT, you'll still have 8 hours. What do you do with your time? So figure out a way to create that story that you can tell the panel that, okay, this is what I was doing. A lot of people pursue their hobbies, interest, and they're able to make a story out of it. So if you're not planning to work, figure out what can be done. Now, the best thing other than that you can do is once the CAT is done, then you can start looking for a job because you're already a graduate. When you go for your interviews, that's going to be, let's say, Jan, Feb, March. If the CAT gets done in November, and let's say more or less you're prepared for other exams as well, you can even take up a job in December, or you can take an internship in December or Jan and start from that, right? So that you will have something to talk about. Whether it will impact your chances adversely, I would not say that it does. So it's okay. I mean, if somebody does not want to work, just focus on the CAT. It's fine to do that, but please find something to do with your time. Okay. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to justify what you were doing with that time that you got. Okay. If you're working, nothing like it. So there is no requirement of any justification as such.
Yeah. So there was a question on the order of taking SimCATs. So someone was taken pre-SimCATs 1, 2, and 1 made that person didn't do well. SimCAT 2 कुछ नहीं है. You have to take it with the same amount of gusto that you would have taken SimCAT 1. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि मतलब because you didn't do well in SimCAT 1, you will not do well in SimCAT 2. If you think like that, then definitely will not do well. But otherwise, I don't see a reason why you should not do well. Try to introspect, try to analyze what happened in SimCAT 1. As you said, you panicked for a bit. It's a fairly common thing to happen, right? People have panicked. In fact, I know people who have scored negative in their SimCATs and still managed to get into IMS. I know at least 2 people who have done that when they were my students at IMS Thane. Again, they didn't score negative because they were my students, but they scored negative because of some other reason. Okay. But end of the day, they reached IMS. So the point is, you have to stick to your preparation. Back yourself. There is a chance that you might score 70% in SimCAT 2. Be prepared for that as well. But as long as you are improving and you feel genuinely that you learned something, I think you should stick to it. I'm sure you will do much better once you reach towards the end. But till then, you have to persist. 84 to 84, 70 to 70, doesn't matter. You have to keep backing yourself. Okay. And pre-SimCAT, you already got amazing percentage, so that should not be a problem. One thing that people mentioned, again, going ahead from this, how to analyze SimCATs. So I think we will have a detailed session for our students as to how to analyze SimCATs. So that is something that you should be on the lookout for. Maybe after 3 or 4 SimCATs,
we'll do it in June.
We'll do it sometime in June. So that is basically when you will get to know how to analyze SimCATs. Make sure you take your SimCATs till then and try to figure out what are the broad areas of improvement. But at a detailed level, what all things do you need to look at? How to look at the buckets of time that you would have wasted overall? How to look at p-value as a concept? How exactly to select questions in a better manner? How to do an ABC analysis? All those things will be covered as a part of the SimCAT analysis session. I think it deserves a lot a much larger forum and a much deeper discussion than a 5-minute or 2-minute answer on an AMA. So don't worry, it will be taken care of. Okay. Yeah, and people are asking about my plans and stuff. Unfortunately, we don't do one-to-one my plans. We haven't been doing one-to-one my plans, but obviously we are in touch with students for a lot of avenues. So we are there on Instagram for AMAs. We are here with you today, and we keep on doing these sessions on and off. So we are in constant touch. If you have any queries which you are convinced that we will be the only ones to answer, you can get in touch with us over LinkedIn, and we'll be more than happy to answer your query. But beyond that, officially we don't float my plans.
Question from Niranjani. I'm helping with my dad in his business. He started recently. It opened recently. He's working full time. I just graduated. While I'm not going to get marks for WorkX, is it considered as WorkX? Yes, it will be counted as work experience as long as, number one, get yourself an offer letter. So it has to be formal. Though it's a family business, the arrangement has to be made formal. So get yourself an offer letter. Your dad can sign it. You should be an employee in the organization. It's okay if you're a partner or let's say whatever designation you want to have. But then the arrangement has to be formalized. You should start drawing salary every month so that you have a salary slip. And when you go for your interviews, etc., you should also have a work experience certificate, right? So it's fine. Working in family business is okay. Be ready for a line of questioning, but that is something that we don't want to discuss right now. Once the test is done and once you get calls, you will have ample support on how do you justify this. But if you think that you want to work with your father right now, completely okay, you can do that. Okay. Yeah, and I think gap year we have already answered. It should not be a big problem, so don't worry about it. All right, I think we are almost nearing towards the end of the session. Thanks everyone for joining. And if we were not able to answer your question, what you can do is you can just leave a comment. That same question, you can leave it as a comment on this particular video once it goes, once it is live. So what you can do is put a comment, put your question there. We will come back for sure and answer your queries. So thanks everyone for joining. It was a great experience. Had fun doing this. This is like the first time that we have done sitting next to each other. So it was a very good experience for me.
Yeah, same here. So all the best, everyone.
Yeah, all the best. Bye.